and I saw some people come from Sacramento. So NorCal, that's where my roots are. I grew up on a dairy farm, and I've been playing games with people and doing activities for about 15 years. I have a few of my colleagues on the call too that have been hanging out. They're going to help with a couple activities we're going to do in a breakout room. So Amir, if you want to say hello.
My name is Amira. I am coming at you from downtown LA, but originally from the San Fernando Valley, which is just right over the hill. And I'm really excited to be hanging out with you all today. I'll toss it over to Sebastian.
Hey guys, my name is Sebastian, or Seabass. I grew up in Miami Beach and now living in Los Angeles, actually Marina del Rey, technically. And I also have my pet Chihuahua. His name is Sydney. Good to meet y'all.
Sydney.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Todd Creekmore. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and moved to Los Angeles, California in January of 2019 to come and work at Fulcrum and pursue my dream and love of leadership development and team building.
Love it. And the four of us work for a company called Fulcrum out of Southern California, doing all sorts of stuff, ropes courses and retreats and after-school programming, and we're regulars at Boost. It's one of our favorite times of the year. So it's been nice to be part of the Boost community despite the circumstances this year. And we're going to start off with the game, actually. We love to give stuff away. Call it, bribery or anything you want, but we love giving stuff out, even when it comes to kids, little stuff. So in order to win this first game, you're going to have your screen on. So I have a little fun monkey here. This is a monkey that we have. We bring to a lot of our programs. The winner of this game will win your very own comfort monkey. We'll send it right to your house. You get to pick pink or blue. The only thing you got to do is have your screen on and make a couple right choices. So I'm going to look to page 2 just so we have nobody coming in late. This game definitely will have a level of integrity because we cannot see and monitor everybody. So we're asking that you be honest. And if you want to win, turn your screen on now. We call it heads or tails. We're going to try our best to give you as many of these, just like Eric and Larissa, little games, fun energizers, nuggets you can do with your staff students. So Amira's got a monkey down there too. And this is how the game works. You're going to try to be the last screen on. And the way you're going to do that is one of our staff, Todd or Amir or Seabass, I'll send over, and they're going to flip a coin. And we're going to ask you to either choose heads. Everyone put both hands on your head, and or tails. Put your hands on your hips or your imaginary tail. If you're whatever animal of your choice, you're going to pick either heads or tails. Make your move. We're going to flip the coin. If you get it right, you make some noise, celebrate, you go on to round 2. If you get it incorrect, you're going to do a dramatic exit somewhere out of your screen, and then you're actually just going to pop your screen off while we finish the game, and then cheer somebody else on in the chat. Don't go empty on us. You got to still cheer someone on. And we're going to get down to see who our heads and tails champ. Oh, we got some more screens on. I love that. All right, so we got our monkeys up. Who's the first one, Todd or Sebastian? Do you have a coin on you?
Oh,
I got it.
I ever?
Oh, we're going to start easy.
We'll start with the major coin.
All right, everyone make your move. You got heads or tails in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's up.
Oh! If you got tails, you are
Tails! Oh, dramatic
Woo!
exit, dramatic exit. We got a couple dramatic exits going. If you just exited, you're going to go to the chat. Cheer somebody else on that you see their screen. Give them some love. Noelle's still in. Jordan's still in. Karina's still in. Here we go. All right, round 2. And are you tossing it to Todd?
Yep, Toddy, you got it.
Here we go.
All right, amazing. I have a regular quarter here. It was from the year 1979. If you're born in that year, you got a little extra special luck for this round. Here we go. Heads or tails. Make your selections. Everybody, heads or tails. Oh, it's looking like tails never fails, everybody.
Oh,
We have tails.
dramatic exit. We lost.
Right.
Did we lose Aurora? Jill, are you still in? Jill's
We still have a few people in.
Okay. Yeah, I think we still got a couple in. We go to round 3. Amira, let's see if your coin is the heads coin, or maybe it's all. Maybe we just have tails on our coins. Here we go. Make your move. You can make a different move.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Tails!
Oh, boy.
Tails.
This is going to be a bold move. You still in, Claudia? We got Claudia. We got Lucy still in. We got Jordan, you still in? Nice. All right, here we go. We're down to our last screen over here. We got some people rooting you on in the chat if you need a little love. All right, we got Claudia. Here we go. Make your move, round 4. Sebastian, we'll go back to the big one.
Woo! 3, 2, 1. Booyah!
Oh, there it is,
Yes,
Claudia.
finally.
Claudia, anybody else? Is your name, is it Pause? Admin, I see she's still on the screen, or maybe that's a picture. Oh, Renee, are you still in? No? Anybody still in other than Claudia? All right, everyone give it up.
Nice
Round of
work,
applause,
Claudia.
snaps.
Woo!
Claudia's our champ. Claudia, if you can just make sure you private chat. Amira, your address. We'll send you over one of your monkeys. Do you want pink or blue? Oh, she's chatting it. Awesome. And if you can find your chat, I got a question for you all. That game involves some choice. If we had a smaller group, we could definitely entertain a conversation around choices. But I'd love for everyone to throw in the chat a positive choice that you've made in quarantine that you're proud of. What's a choice you've made in the last month, 2 months, maybe it was a week, maybe it was this. What's a choice you've made that you're proud of? See it. Larissa, that's great. A lot of exercising, healthy eating habits, bike riding, drink more water. Love it. Working out more, eating healthy, exercising daily, saving money, amazing. Cooking more, awesome. Sweet. So here's the what I want to just open up with and
back
share.
to our Zoom tutorials.
What I'd love to share by starting is that we as educators, as after-school folks, we can never have enough games in our tool belt, right? It's probably one of the reasons why some of you showed up today, why you're going to show up to Eric's training next week. We can never have enough of those little fun activities, those games. And I just want to get us back to the why, right? So when we learn new activities and we learn games, one of the things, if possible, that we want to go back to is, why am I playing this? Even if it's a little silly game called heads or tails, someone throw out some things that you could talk about just from that little 50-50 game of heads or tails. What else could you create conversation with from that little game that we just played? What might be some themes or takeaways or conversation topics that you might be able to pull from that? If you have it, just throw it in the chat. We already talked about choice, right? Making choices. We were talking earlier about why we make choices. Integrity, thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, someone said, was it the first time you laughed or smiled today? There was an opportunity to support other people if you took it on. There was an opportunity to chat people in. So absolutely. So the reason I share that is because I think it's important for us in this room right here to be reminded of what we're up against and why we're doing it. I'll share a quick little story, and then the rest of this session will be mostly interactive. We're going to get into some breakout rooms. I actually went to a protest this morning here in Hillsborough, North Carolina, and there was a gentleman who spoke. He was a local politician, and he was sharing about his daughter, who he adopted, a young Black girl, about when she first started sharing with him when she started feeling not included and the systemic racism. And this was at the age of 7. And then he told another story at 9 and another story at 12. And he was reminding us of obviously where a lot of this starts. And to be honest with you, every story he told, where do you think it was? Where was most of the stories he told about his daughter? They were at school. They were at school, and they were after school, and they were with her friends. And it was stories that just kind of made you go, I mean, people, we were tearing up. There was probably 100 people in front of their city hall. The reason I share that with you is that what we're up against as after-school leaders, as whatever your position is, elementary, high school, we have a responsibility and an opportunity to use these games and these activities to actually connect and make a difference with young people. And while you might just think you're doing something just because it's to fill time, and trust me, have we all done that? I need to fill 5 minutes, right? I need to fill 10 minutes. We're all there, and sometimes we fill time. But even in filling time, the question is, are we looking at the opportunity to connect and to actually make students feel included? And let's be honest, we're some of the people in this room that are the ones they're spending the most time with, right? So a lot of times their parents are working 2 jobs to make ends meet, and a lot of times we're the folks. So I wanted everyone to just take that in, because you're choosing to spend 2 hours of your day for that. And I hope you acknowledge yourself for being on this training and going out of your way today to take time to learn activities, learn how to engage more with students, so that that young girl and so that the young people in your community have a better experience. So throughout the activity, even as we're having fun, I would love for us to continue thinking and getting connected to our why, to our reason. With that said, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna spend 5 minutes and I'm gonna build off on Eric's top 6 minutes. So I'm gonna give you a couple little nuggets that we've found being in sort of the trenches over the last 3 weeks or months, like a lot of you. And I will say this, us on this call, we are inventing this space. You know, everyone on this call has been in different jobs and jobs that have been around for a long time. Ropes courses we've been doing for 20. Eric said he was a DJ for 10, and then he was doing other things. Larissa's been in energy. Tia's hosted, 12 boost conferences. A lot of those things we're really good at and we know how to do. This space that we are all sitting in right now, we are inventing it. We are inventing how to engage more, what games work, what doesn't. So as we invent, give yourself room to mess up. Give yourself room to make mistakes. Give yourself room to try something and it doesn't work. And also know that even though we're leading this training, we are having some of the same troubles that you all are as it relates to engaging with kids. So a couple things off the top, and then we're going to get into a breakout and play another game. If you, Eric talked about the top 6. What I like to believe is that in our first 5 minutes, when we start a session, a training with kids, adults, anything, that very beginning is very important, right? So many of us utilize the Zoom wait-in room. We put everybody in the waiting room, and then we let everybody in, and then we start within 30 seconds, and we share our screen and everything. If you notice today, Tia and Alicia let some folks in, and then we had a little mini window. There was like 2 or 3 minutes that people started interacting. Eric was talking to somebody, and then Tia was talking to somebody, and Alicia threw some stuff in the chat. If you're behind the scenes, all that stuff matters. So if you're that was all done with intention. I hope it wasn't just an accident that, they wanted to just, chat with people in the chat and then maybe talk to each other. So when we're with students and our staff, we're almost throwing an event virtually here, right? If your kids are coming after school, they're walking in the classroom, you're teaching your staff to greet them at the door and say, how was your day? Hello, how are you? So the concept that we're virtual doesn't change that. And the question is, how do we do that? One of the ways to do that is to what we did at the top of this training, start interacting with each other via the chat, via talking to each other. And oftentimes kids are mute, especially in the virtual world. So if you have to, start talking to each other. Get your staff in a pattern to have a conversation in front of everybody, because that's what you do in real life, right? We have this sort of thing that we're being taught now that Zoom makes us mute. We have to be on mute. We only unmute to talk, and then we remute. And it's kind of created a lot of us, even students, to just be silent. The more you and your staff start engaging from the very beginning, it will start to get your students in a natural environment where they feel free. They can throw some stuff out there, throw some comments. And then I will tell you this, the chat is also your best friend. So I've noticed the chat's been fully alive on this call, which has been amazing. And it was no accident that while Tia is talking, Alicia is chatting. And while Eric is talking, Larissa is chatting about what Eric's talking about. Because we're in this training together. If Eric's not successful in his 30 minutes, neither am I and neither is Tia. So if I'm not successful right now, neither is Amira and neither is Todd. So the more we can do to generate support for our speakers and our presenters and our leads via the chat, via conversation, it builds this camaraderie as a team that we really are in it together. That while I'm talking, I'm not just out here on an island trying to engage with 61 people, that I do have some support backing me up. Does that all make sense, y'all? And check it. You guys have been doing an amazing job, like in the chat, creating that. And we're also at a training. It doesn't, always happen with students. So the more your staff does it and the more you're driving that home with your staff, the better chance you're going to have an engagement. And will still students not do it? Of course. Will they have their screens off? Of course, all of that. But you're giving yourself a better chance. All right. With that said, going into breakout rooms, couple little nuggets as a facilitator, and then, like I said, we're going to break out and play a quick game. Many of us, when we get into our breakout room, once again, we go right into, here's my material, here's the game I have to remember all the directions to. I'm a big fan of the check-in. When you get into a breakout room, figure out a way to check in with your participants. And it's easy to get lost right here in 61 people. So when you get to the breakout room, there's a lot of different ways to just ask people how you're doing. I'll throw out a couple, and then if anyone wants to throw in the chat, there's a lot of different ways. But one of the ways is just, 1 to 10, right? Throw me a 1 to 10 being like, you have a ton of energy today. 1 being like, I'm really tired. And then have everyone chat in a number. That might take 1 minute. But what it does is it gives, thank you, Lyle, I see you, 8. What it does is it gives everyone a voice to feel like I can communicate with the facilitator or my teacher without having to talk, right? If you have a room of 10, 12, and you want to unmute and throw a few out there, absolutely. Some people like to use a weather report, right? If you were a weather report today, what would you be? Are you sunny? Are you cloudy? Is it raining? Be honest, what is it? And you can have people throw that in. I've seen people use, if you could describe your mood today in a song, what would it be? Or in a movie genre. So you can certainly get creative. But remember, this is the why. We're giving our participants, our students, our staff, a way to communicate how they are doing without necessarily having to take the stage or to vocalize. With that said, I will share one little document with you, and I'm going to just kind of model an activity that we do sometimes. Can anybody either unmute or share in the chat? What is the most common question we ask most of the time every day to people, and people ask of us? What is one of the most common questions we hear when we're passing by? Absolutely.
How are you?
How are you? Right? How you doing? How are you? And what is our common response?
Good.
I'm okay.
Good. Yeah. Good, fine. And then we always go, fine. And then what do we say back?
How are you?
How are you?
Yeah, how are you? Good. Now, I'm not making fun of that at all, because that's sort of our quick way of just letting someone know and acknowledging. But I would love for us to think about how much of a pattern that has become when someone asks us how we are. I'm going to give you an example, a kinetic example of a pattern. Maybe some of you do this. Feel free to use this in any of your trainings. It's great. On the count of 3, I want everyone to clap 3 times and cross your arms. 1, 2, 3. Cross your arms. That is a kinetic example of how pattern-driven we are as humans. If you look down, you'll notice one arm on top, left or right. If your left arm's on top, put your right arm on top. And if your right arm's on top, put your left arm on top. So you just do a little switch. Someone throw out what that feels like when you do the switch.
Uncomfortable.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Eddie. Uncomfortable. Absolutely. Different, weird, awkward. You can do the same with your hands. So on 3, clap 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and then cross your hands. And you'll notice one of your thumbs just very naturally goes on top. If your left thumb's on top, they say you're a thinker. If your right thumb's on top, they say you're good looking. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But either way, go to the opposite, which is similar to what you'll feel in your arms. Those are kinetic examples of how much when we get into a pattern, we no longer think of them, and the pattern drives us, right? Now, if we're talking about personal growth, we could dig down to that for another 8 hours of our patterns. But the reason I'm sharing that with you is how are you has become one of our patterns. How are you doing? So one of the things we like to do is just break that up. Here's a tool you can use. Well, we do it as how are you and a few other things, but this is not super techy. We just made this list. And so what I'd like you to do is, if you have a pen or paper, I'm going to ask you to identify with, let's just call it 5 or 6 of these words. And these are feelings or experiences that people have that they have a hard time expressing. So I'd like you to just take a quick pull down that list and write like 5 or 6 of them that you identify with right now. Some are happy words, some are good feeling words, and some of them are challenging words. I'd like you just to write down 5 or 6. If you got more, you can go more. Okay, I'm gonna give you about 10 more seconds. Take a quick poll. Awesome. Okay. All right. Now, with students, I would have given them more time, right? And I hope you guys get, I'm sort of pushing through this so that we can get to some other things. But we do the How Are You activity as a reflection activity for 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's a full-on activity that we have students share. So now I'd like you to take your list of 5 or 6, and I'd like you just to choose 1 or even 2. And I'm not going to call on you, but 1 or 2 that you would feel comfortable sharing. 1 or 2 that you would feel comfortable sharing. And if you're willing to, throw it over in the chat. Just 1 or 2 that you feel comfortable sharing. You can throw it over there. Frustrated, hopeful, tired and grateful. Absolutely. Bummed, disappointed. Absolutely. Afraid, grateful, calm, relax. I feel you. Whoever put not up to speed with technology, I'm with you. That's all we got, Eric. All right. So I was just modeling one way to start doing a reflection or get students or people or staff to share or check in with themselves beyond that question. Now, if I was doing a big program and I had a staff meeting an hour before, what would be the value of knowing at least a little bit about where my staff was? Anybody want to just throw it out there on me? What might be the value?
Top priority.
Top priority. Thanks, Isaac. What else? Or why might it impact our program of how one of my staff members is doing?
Impacts the way they're engaged.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Feel like they're in a space.
Say that again, Noah?
Staff will feel like they're in a safe space if they're continually being asked, like, how are they? And it's safer and safer and feels better to be able to share.
Yeah. Awesome. So there's a lot of ways to do it, like I shared. If you're willing to take the time with your staff and or your students to just check in, once again, we're just building that relationship, giving them a voice, giving them a space they know that you care, and that it's not just about always our material, that it's about them, right? And you can also, if you know that one of your staff is having a tough day or student, it gives the group know we might have to pick them up a little bit. So if they're dragging, who knows, maybe their baby was up all night sick. That's important. That's important life stuff, right? Rather than us going, gosh, they're just like not paying attention. That's great for us to know, because then we can get behind them, get on board. Same with students. If a student is dealing with something tough. Now, interestingly enough, we've actually done this with 3rd graders. You can dub down the word a little bit. We've done it with adults, done any age group. The model I just used of choosing some words and then drawing out one is a really easy one, just to get them with at least one that they're comfortable sharing. So, okay. Anybody else have any other just fun check-ins while we're at it? Y'all are experts also. So if you want to throw in the chat, a lot of people are taking great notes from the chat. So if you have other little questions you throw out to check in with your students' chat, you can do 1 to 10. A lot of people just use a thumb. All right, thumbs up. You're doing like, yeah, awesome here. Like, I'm okay. I'm having a tough day. The words list is great. Weather, all those things. All right. Moving right along, we're going to get us into some breakout rooms. We're going to play one little fun, quick game that we've played with, once again, 3rd graders, middle schoolers, high school, and staff. We call it Double Ditto. It's a really fun way to get people engaged, connected. So we're going to play this we're going to call it 10 minutes. So our staff, actually, Sebastian, myself, Todd, we will frame up the game in the breakout room, okay? If you're obviously, for those of us that have been on Zoom a lot, breakout rooms are a great tool if you have the staff to do it. And if you can get people into, groups of 15 rather than 50, there is definitely some value in that. So we'll be back here at 1:40, our staff, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
Here we go.
Did you learn anything new, Todd?
I did. I learned that Tia is an avid streamer, and in that list of resources that we will all be getting, I'm expecting to see some excellent shows that she is able to recommend to us as well.
Okay. Yes. Tia is the avid streamer.
Yeah.
You said you're an avid streamer.
Oh, I mean, I think I need to make a Google Doc of all of my Netflix recommendations.
We want it on the resources email, Tia.
I'll just say one right now. Schitt's Creek is like the best binge show ever.
I love Schitt's Creek.
Who said that?
Jacqueline.
Woo!
I've binge watched it so many times. I can't even count.
It's just kind of like always on in the background. I was
Yeah.
telling my breakout room that, if I can't sleep in the middle of the night, I just kind of turn it on for background noise. So
Same.
We used to watch it during lunch at the office.
yeah.
Oh, wow. That's dedication.
I was trying to convert everybody.
I've been trying to.
So obviously, that's a great, Double Ditto is a really fun game just to get conversation generated, and with your staff or your students, and you can you can generate your own topic. So like I was just telling our group, we did a high school group yesterday, and we actually, one of the topics was high school lingo words.
Oh, we ended up doing that one today.
Oh, you did? Oh, wow.
Yeah, super fun.
You will learn some stuff if you go there. And then the other thing that we talked about in our group was, the conversations that you could you play 6 rounds, play the game, and then ask what are some things you noticed as you played the game. What often comes up, and someone shared it in our room, is you get to start talking about commonalities and differences. And you could start talking about, if you had time or you were into leading a different conversation that was a little deeper, it could start talking about what are some differences that we have that are really hard to deal with. What are some things when you look for friends, when you look at your close friends, what is it that you look for? And now we're having a conversation about friendship. We're having a conversation about the social emotional learning that we all want to get to through the game Double Ditto. Doesn't mean it can't be fun and silly. And it doesn't mean you always have to go deep, right? So I'm just sharing that if you want to take that opportunity. Sometimes we just play to play. Okay, we're going to go to breakouts in a second, but I did share with Tia a while back. We were working with some schools that had some field trips planned that got canceled. And so we took some time. This specific group that I'm going to share with you actually was going to the Grand Canyon. I'm going to take you on like a field trip we did with them in 45 or an hour, and I'm going to take you on a really quick version of it. But here's what I want to model. It's not really about the field trip, and what you'll see, it's certainly not about the technology, but it's just some of the things that we put into it, and it's very basic. But when we were creating the field trip for the Grand Canyon, I just pulled out some of the slides that I thought would sort of show some different tactics we were using. Now, what I'll share with you, and Eric, you could probably put in the chat more than I can, but there are some incredible virtual field trips online. Like technology that you're like, Eric showed me one yesterday, you're in the Natural History Museum staring at a dinosaur. So if you literally Google, if you put it in there just now, if you literally Google the best virtual field trips, you're going to find a ton of resources to take your groups anywhere they want to go in the world. So maybe you even do a poll like Larissa did at the beginning, at the end of one session, and say, hey, we're going to do a field trip next week. Where do y'all want to go? And pull out like 5 things: the aquarium, Disneyland, the post office, whatever. And then you could probably honestly take an hour and find some really good virtual field trips. What I'm going to share with you is just one that we sort of made ourselves. You will definitely see that it is self-made just using Google Slides. We don't have any real fancy technology, but there are a couple things I just want to share with you all. Just if you were to take the time to generate one yourself. Let me go here. Okay. Oh, okay. Let me go back to the beginning. Okay. So here we go. This is just a Grand Canyon trip we did for a school, and I'm going to literally do this very quickly. So just to show you a couple things. We like to make it interactive. So we'll throw up a picture of something and just ask them what they see. What do you think this is? So if anybody wants to just shout out or put in the chat what you think this is, or maybe you've seen it before. We did a trip around the Grand Canyon and the surrounding areas. Yeah, absolutely. You can find a lot of images on Google Earth. Literally, these images are just Google images we put into a slide presentation. So if those of you who want to create it yourself, I would say don't be intimidated. A lot of us are not super tech savvy, and you'll see we can do it. So this is the volcano. So what we would do next is we would then share the facts about that volcano. This happens to be the Sunset Crater just outside the Grand Canyon, a couple hours. And then in your presenter notes, you can have some facts and even use some trivia to ask them about volcanoes. We had a whole little lesson on the volcano. And then we go to, we use some funny graphics or a joke. What did the fish say when it ran into the wall? Dam, okay? And then we start talking about the Glen Canyon Dam. And so like Larissa was talking about energy earlier, we're using just some visuals, very simple, just to make them feel like they can see what we're talking about. They're there. We threw out some questions like, what are 5 benefits of a dam? We start talking about different energy purposes. Are we experts in any of this? No. Larissa is the expert. That we just, got ourselves versed up in a couple days, and we put this together. This is what I'll have the kids do is, what kind of shape does everybody see over here? Throw some guesses in. On the left, that is a very famous image near Grand Canyon. That is called Horseshoe Canyon. Sorry, not Horseshoe Canyon. Oh, my bad. See, I told you we're not. Oh, boy, I lost it all. Okay, 1 second. 1 second. Horseshoe Bend is what I meant to say. All right. And then over there, you'll see some petroglyphs. So we love to just create interaction. So in the chat, we would ask the kids, how old do you think those petroglyphs are? And now everyone's throwing it in the chat. You see some great guesses with kids, right? So those are 2,000 years old. Using the chat, great way. This right here, we'll ask the kids, what do you think is underneath that? And we have some people guess in, or what do you see here? And then create some conversation, and then go to the next slide, and we're showing you Antelope Canyon, right? Which is that underneath it. Super pretty, super beautiful, very big tourist attraction if you were, to go to the Grand Canyon. On the tour, they actually show you some really cool things. So right over here, that is Amir. Will you chime in? Is that the lion's head? Can't remember which one that is. They have these little shapes that the tour guides share with you. I believe that one's the lion's head.
That one is the lion's head, yeah. You can see his mane kind of up there on the right.
Yeah. And this one over here is the Lady in the Wind, right? So you can kind of use your imagination. And then you'll see that one, or you can see the sky. We talk about flash flooding, give them sort of like a lot of the geographical things that went into Antelope Canyon. This we talked about some of the tribes that were there, so you can do some history, do some trivia, explore the Grand Canyon. This is one of our favorite slides. What's the most dangerous animal in the Grand Canyon? It's actually on this slide. So you got the frog, you got snakes. Oh, wow. All right. Sorry. Okay. Okay, I'm going to bring it back. That last one was the squirrel. So the most dangerous animal in the Grand Canyon is the squirrel. And so as you can see, y'all, that was not made by people who are really tech savvy, right? We put some pictures on some slides and just organized it in a way where we had and created interaction points, right? So the ones that a lot of them that you'll do online are really great. They're being narrated. You get really great images. If you were just creating, your own, you could probably do that in, as you can see, not a lot of time, and curate your trip wherever you might go through the summer. Like I said, I know that Eric is throwing a couple over there in the chat. You'll see the natural history. Really, if you just Google, best virtual field trips, you're going to get a lot of really awesome ones. Okay, I'm a little low on time. I wanted to get one last activity. We're going to give everyone 5 minutes. Okay, we're going to give you, usually we make this a little longer, but it's been one of our best activities for having an actual leadership activity. And as you'll see in your I'd be very surprised if someone does it today in 5 minutes, but we play a lot of games and do a lot of fun stuff. This is actually an activity that we found can generate a very interesting collaborative initiative. Like when you do with your kids and you do the swamp and the minefield and things like that. This activity creates ideas, leadership, people stepping up. And so, Amira, if you want to just go back to our 4 rooms, we'll make it easy. And Todd, Amira, and Sebastian, why don't you just frame it up in the smaller room? And then we'll give them 5 minutes to just see how far they can get. And then we'll meet back here at like 1:57. Cool? They'll at least get to see the activity, being framed? Clearly, y'all. Well, raise your hand if you were engaged doing that A to Z, right? That the A to Z has been one of our favorites because, as you can see, it generates all sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff, right? So we clearly don't play that game in 4 minutes. We usually play it in about 30. And we've played it with third graders. We've played it with corp companies. And so whether you do it with your staff or your students, someone just throw out some of the things you could see coming in from a debrief from that activity. What are some things you think might come up when you go to a little debrief from that one?
Teamwork.
Okay, working together, absolutely.
Communication skills.
Yeah, for sure.
Strategy.
Strategy, 100%.
Problem solving.
Oh, yep, problem solving.
I think bringing people out of their, little holes,
Yeah, yeah, and thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And as we've noticed, a lot of students for different reasons stay behind their screen. In that activity, if they're behind their screen or not, it still works. They're still part of the team. They're still engaged. They still have a letter or two. And as you probably saw, one of the big things is making mistakes. Like when we make mistakes, what is our response? How do people pick us up? So use that one. Obviously, like I said, give them more time. And if you are up for like having your students or staff have a challenge that you can then lead it to a debrief, there's a lot of great material that comes out of that activity as a facilitator. So sorry we went a little bit over. Thanks for hanging in there through the virtual field trip and all the activities. Tia, thank you for
Thank you so much,